Can everyone please take a seat and switch your phones off to silence?
מאין יבוא עזרי מאימה שעושה שמיים וארץ, אל יתן למות רגליך, אל ינום שומרך, הנה לא ינום ולא יישן שומר ישראל, השם שומרך, השם צילך, על יד ימינך, יומם השמש לא יככה, והריח בלילה, השם ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך, השם ישמור צאתך ובואך מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם.
If you are able, please stand for a minute silence.
הרחבה הזאת של המסיבת טבע זה הרחבה שהכי מכילה את האושר ובעלת לייצג אהבה עולמית.
אנשים שמחים, חיוכים בכל מקום.
אנשים יפים, אווירה של אהבת חינם ושל חופש הביטוי.
זה המקום הכי מוגן, זה המקום הכי קדוש, זה המקום הכי טהור.
אושר, גדול.
אסור לנו לבית, לנשמה, ללב.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and members of our Jewish and Greek community, it is with heavy hearts our honour to welcome you this evening. We are especially privileged to be joined today by distinguished members of Parliament, foreign diplomatic corps, family members of victims and hostages of Oct7, community leaders, allies and friends. My name is Juliet Moses. Before we continue, I'd just like to go through the emergency procedures of tonight. In the case of national emergency, fire, earthquake, the evacuation alarm will sound as a voiceover to evacuate the building. This will sound continuously. Please exit the building you're in and proceed to the exit points. The synagogue or a hall in the majority of the site, the evacuation assembly area is the Tears. In the event of an active threat or lockdown, the lockdown alarm is short and shrill, high-pitched, is similar to a reversing truck. This will sound for 1 minute. Panic alarms are located around the site. They are bright red buttons mounted on the walls. If you are inside, lock and barricade doors, shut curtains and stay away from windows and silence your phones for a while. If you are outside, observe the same principles and set a safe place on 111. In the hall, you need to remain here and with external and internal doors locked. If you're in the upper room, in the synagogue, all those who are able should move upstairs to a room comprising a kitchen and balcony meeting room. Those in locked doors to secure zone. For the elderly or infirm witness involved, these use the Cohen room office involved, the door closed and blinds drawn. Bring children inside. And now so in hurry.
We are gathered here on the first memorial service of October 7, one of the darkest days in Jewish history and the deadliest day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust. On October 7, 2023, the Shabbat of Simchat Torah, Israel experienced the biggest, most brutal massacre in its history. At 6:29 in the morning, under a heavy barrage of rocket fire, thousands of Hamas terrorists invaded Israel's sovereign territory. Riding on vehicles and equipped with weapons, they infiltrated IDF bases, kibbutzim in the Gaza envelope, and the nearby towns. By air and on foot, they also made their way to Reim Park, where thousands of Israelis were partying at the Nova Music Festival, a festival that honors peace, love, and freedom. Sticking to a meticulous plan, Hamas took control of the main roads, making it difficult for Israeli first responders to approach the area. Everywhere they reached, the Hamas terrorists displayed unimaginable savagery. They murdered senior citizens, women, and children indiscriminately. Entire families, children in front of parents, parents in front of children. They raped, they mutilated bodies, they looted everything they could get their hands on, and before leaving, set arms and other properties on fire, in addition to burning people alive. Often filmed themselves doing so on phones and GoPros to maximize the psychological torture. Hundreds were taken hostage to Gaza Strip. The State of Israel and the IDF were caught off guard It was late afternoon before large and organized IDF forces reached the communities that were under attack. Operating under impossible conditions, they displayed unmatched heroism and engaged the terrorists. Only after 48 long hours of bloody combat did they manage to completely eliminate the threat. It was one of the finest hours of many people who acted from their hearts and the conscience while risking their lives. Some did not survive.
It was one of the it was one of the finest hours of Israel's civil society, which from the brink of disaster on October 7 joined forces immediately. For Israelis and Jews living in the diaspora, we suddenly felt the ground ripped from beneath our feet. Not only was Israel, a place where our friends and family live, that has been a refuge for Jews escaping persecution around the world, and that plays such a central role in Jewish life, identity and prayer, being attacked in a way many of us thought impossible. But it was celebrated and justified, as well as denied. Almost immediately, we began to see a rise in anti-Semitism across the globe and here in New Zealand. Even before Israel had regained control of the country, had identified and buried its dead, had launched its defensive attack against Hamas, Israel was being accused of genocide, and there were denials of what had happened. It was akin to Holocaust denial or revisionism in real time. Reported anti-Semitic incidents in New Zealand in the immediate weeks and months that followed increased by 1,500%. By the time Israel had finally accounted for all its dead, 860 civilians and 578 soldiers, some officers, firefighters, Shin Bet personnel, and first responders were murdered. Thousands were wounded, of whom hundreds were in critical condition. And an additional 251 people were abducted to the Gaza Strip, including children, women, senior citizens, foreign nationals, soldiers, and whole families. 101 are still there, their fate unknown. Today we remember those in Israel, Jew, Muslim, Christian, atheist, Israeli citizen, foreign national, who were brutally murdered. Today we remember those still held in captivity, and we say now and clear to bring them home now.
To remember those who were murdered, I would like to invite Bryce Turner, Executive National Director for New Zealand of Christians for Israel, and a staunch ally of the Jewish community, to light the memorial candle.
Thank you, Bryce. I would like to invite to the stage Sagi and Ronit, members of our community.
October 7. You start by. We read our family's text with this Palestinian fans are inside the Moshav at the Asa, second my husband's home. Fragments of information from Sagi's family revealed an unfathomable picture. Hamas gunmen are inside home. Our people are being killed. We didn't receive news about my home. It was Zikim, which is only 15 minutes away from here. The news from the kid that here was here. Jumped on the grenade to save two staff, but he couldn't save his firstborn, 17-year-old boy, who was murdered with his friends Tal and Nadal. The three went fishing on Zikim Beach. So many parents saved their kids that day. The news from Nativ kept coming. And in the following text we learned that Kobe and Bilha's house was burned to the ground. Therefore, the eyes can read, but the mind cannot comprehend. Kobe and Bilha, people of giving, of sharing, people of peace. In these hours of turmoil came the news we could not pass to this day. Me, a beloved friend, life, meet and his wife in law, both early childhood last night. The most sharp hits, Sinai group. Amit was shot while fighting, defending his loved ones. Alfredo, Amit's father, lost two sons on that dark morning, Amit and Peter. Both fought back. This photo of us at the beginning of Sinai was taken last year by the Prophet of Israel to support my sick friend. My friend passed away 4 October. She got to say goodbye. The people who loved her got to say goodbye. On October 7, people did not get to say goodbye, to tell their loved ones what they loved them. One most time, loving eyes, closure. Since October 7, personal grief has melded with collective grief. Tears are shed over every loved one that is gone, and tears are shed over a wounded nation. In February, the Yad and Kat, also members of Sinai, lost their eldest son, Auckland, the 20-year-old soldier in Israel. The kind of anguish words cannot describe. No one can reach the depth of their friend's personal grief, yet no one should be alone in this bottomless darkness. And this is Sinai Group, a tribe, a family, sharing their strength, their sorrow, offering each other comfort and hope when it's so hard to keep going, keep participating in life. The days following October 7th have revealed the horrifying scope of the personal and collective loss. Nativ Gazan lost 20 infants. Each is a story in its own right. Each suffered a violent death on that morning. Each is a bird. Following October 7th, so many of us do not view life as a film. Yet, when our understanding of life's fragility changes, we can change our understanding of life, not to take it for granted, live it full on, with happiness, like Amit did. May we all lean on through friendships and be there for our broken-hearted friends. Friendship is an answer for a wounded soul, and so many around us need it. May the community of Nativ Gazan, the community of Zikim, Ihon, and the other Israeli communities nationwide find healing in this traumatic time. May all return to their homes, and those who are gone may rest in peace. And for the one like you see with fears, my heart is function. Thank you. I would like to invite Martin Levy, representative of the Community Security Group, to the stage to recite a specially composed version of the memorial prayer, His Call.
His Call, people of Israel. May the people of Israel remember its sons and daughters, the loyal and the brave, the soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces, the first responders, the members of the intelligence, security and law enforcement communities, and civilians who risked their lives during the events of that Black Shabbat, who ran to lead the forces that saved the people from murderers, from savages, from the terrorist organizations. May Israel remember and be blessed by its offspring and mourn the radiance of the youth, the preciousness, the bravery, and the sanctity of the will to survive and the self-sacrifice. May it remember the bravery of the kibbutzim, the moshavim, and the cities, which stood guard until they had nothing left, until they had no strength left. May it remember the officers who led the forces, the soldiers, and the father and mother who, with their bodies, defended their families, but were unable to save them. Zachor et asher sa lecha Amalek b'derech b'tzeitechem miMitzrayim. Remember what Amalek did to you on the way out of Egypt.
Thanks, Martin. In the months after 7 October, to much hostility, Eden Golan performed the song Hurricane, Israel's entry into the Eurovision Song Contest. The song was written with 7 October in mind. The following is an unofficial video that was made to go along with the song.
My symphony, play with me, look into my eyes and see. People walk away but never say goodbye. Someone stole the moon tonight, took my light. Everything is black and white. Who's the fool who told you boys don't cry? Hours and hours and powers. Life is no game but it's ours. Wild. The time goes wild. Every day I'm losing my mind, holding on in this mysterious ride, dancing in the storm. I got nothing to hide. Take it out and leave the world behind. Baby, promise me you'll hold me again. I'm still broken from this hurricane. This hurricane. Living in a fantasy, ecstasy. Everything is meant to be. We shall pass, but love will never die. Hours and hours and powers. Life is no game, but it's ours. Why? The time goes wild. Every day I'm losing my mind, holding on in this mysterious ride, dancing in the storm. I got nothing to hide. Take it out and leave the world behind. Baby, promise me you'll hold me again. I'm still broken from this hurricane. This hurricane. לילות, אפילו אם קשה לראות, תמיד אתה משאיר לי אור אחד קטן.
Like many of you, I felt lost in the aftermath of October 7th. Unsure of how to process the grief, anger, and confusion. Something shifted inside me that is really hard to put into words. For weeks, I felt like I was floating, searching for something to hold on to, looking for some horizon. It's a feeling that anyone who has experienced grief or trauma will understand. That moment that the ground just shifts beneath you and you're not sure where to place your feet. This is a common theme in the history of our people. We've always found ways to grow from adversity, to move forward with resilience and purpose. We've done it for centuries. And now we do it again. But how? What can we hold on to? For me, the first sign of that horizon and resilience in the aftermath of October 7th was right here at Academic School Assembly. Over 150 children from all different nationalities stood right here and sang Hatikva, the Israeli national anthem of hope, like they do every week. Here we are, at the far end of the world, and I felt the deepest connection to our people and to our history. I felt a collective determination to maintain our sense of belonging and solidarity. This profound feeling of a shared experience was different this time. Now it was as a Jew in the diaspora with a family of my own, not just an Israeli. I'm incredibly proud of how the Kadima family nurtures these important values and sentiments, giving our children the tools to define their horizons, showing them that their identity is built from a rich tapestry of stories, prayers, questions, experiences. We teach them to ask critical questions, to challenge our burdens, and to grow into who they were meant to become. This applies to all nationalities attending the school, as the Jewish story only one example. When we look at our children, we don't see the future, just the future. We see the strengths of our past. We're showing them that they, too, can grow from any experience, no matter how difficult. Just as we have grown, so will they, with strength, resilience, and hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Daria, for those beautiful words. Please welcome Henri Elliott, Honorary Consul for Israel.
I'll just say a few words and keep it quite brief. We're all sitting here with broken hearts, and it's very hard to stay composed and sort of talk through what has occurred a year ago. Israel is very resilient, and people, it's nice to see the community and the friends of the community come together. As we mark this painful anniversary, let us reaffirm our commitment to Israel's security, to the values of democracy, freedom, and human dignity that defines us. The memory of those we lost and those who are still held hostage by the events of October 7th must inspire us to strive for a future where such violence has no place, where children grow up in safety, and where the hope for peace becomes a reality. 101 Israeli men, women, and children remain hostages in Gaza. We cannot let another year, month, day, minute, or second pass without their return. We will not rest until they are home. I'd like to introduce Yael Olan from the Israeli Embassy, and she's Deputy Head of Mission, to say a few words.
Words fail. A year has passed. Countless articles written. News reports aired. Witnesses interviewed. And yet, there are no words that truly capture the horrors of that day. October 7, 2023. A date etched forever in the soul of our nation. On this day, we faced pure evil. Such evil that nothing, absolutely nothing, could ever justify. Today, a year after, 101 hostages are still enduring unimaginable torment. Their suffering weighs heavily on our hearts, and we will not rest until they are all returned to their loving families. Today, a year later, Israel is still fighting a defensive and existential war on 7 fronts: Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad in the Gaza Strip, Judea and Samaria, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria, and the Houthis in Yemen. Each of these forces is backed by Iran, the same Iran that launched over 350 warheads toward Israel on April 14th, and 181 ballistic missiles last week, both unprecedented attacks in the history of warfare. Israel has both the right and the obligation to defend its city well. To condemn Israel for defending itself is to reward terrorism and encourage its spread. This endangers not only Israel, but the entire world. In the aftermath of October 7, our enemies sought to break us, but they failed. What they didn't understand is that Israel's strength is not just in its military, but in the unyielding spirit of its people. From the north to the south, from our soldiers to displaced families, from Israel to New Zealand. We stand as one. As we look at the future, we do so with hope. Hope that our unity, love, and life will prevail. Hope that those who stand with us today, our friends and our allies, will continue to be part of this journey, sometimes very challenging. But it's not just the fight against terror, but it's the pursuit for a lasting peace. I would like now to invite Shani Chu, who arrived today in New Zealand a couple of hours ago, all the long way from Israel, to share a story with us. Shani is 44 years old mother of 2, who survived the Hamas attack at her home on Kibbutz Zikim in the Gaza envelope. While many kibbutzim, moshavim, and the Zikim military base and beach were breached by terrorists on October 7, the residents of Zikim managed to hold off the attack. The kibbutz residents were then evacuated in 2 groups to opposite ends of Israel. Shani and her family were among the first to go back to the kibbutz 6 months after that. Please welcome Shani.
Thank you, everybody, and good evening. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Last year on October 7th, never have I thought that a year after I would be standing here, telling the stories that I do. It's been a year since that dreadful day that afterwards, all of our lives would never be the same as they were. My name is Shani, and my family and I live in Kibbutz Zikim. For those of you who are trying to put Zikim on a map, envision the Israeli map. Go down the Mediterranean Sea, and you have Tel Aviv, then you have Ashdod, then you have Ashkelon, and then you get to Gaza. 1 kilometer before you get to Gaza is kibbutzikim. Little, tiny, lovely kibbutz that all of us, like everybody that lived in the Gaza envelope, said about the exact same thing. If you ask people in the Gaza envelope, why did you live there? Or what's so special? Why choose to live there? All of us used to say that it's 95% heaven, 5% hell, but 95% heaven. How many people do you know that when you ask them about where they live, that's what they're going to say? There are so many things to talk about a year later. I want to talk about 2 things, community and miracles. I'll start with my personal miracle. As I said, it was the best place to live. And all of us felt we had a great sense of personal security. I used to ride my bike out around the kibbutz by myself every Saturday morning. I used to leave the kibbutz, go to Zikim Beach, to the army base, to Netiva Asara, the Erez border crossing, and back through the Kalmia Nature Reserve. I used to ride by myself, 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Always felt very, very safe. On October 7th, at 6:15 in the morning, I looked at my clock, and I told myself that it wasn't as hot as it was last week. So I'm going to do something that I've never done before, and I'm going to give myself an extra 10 minutes to stay home. That decision I made at 6:15 actually saved my life, because whoever was on that path 15 minutes later and an hour later was murdered. At 6:29 exactly, the doors to hell broke open, and over 14,000 rockets were shot within 20 minutes on the Gaza envelope. We got up, we rushed to the safe rooms. There were so many rockets, we didn't even stand up to close the window because we felt as though it's a waterfall of rockets. We laid on the ground, protecting our kids. At a certain point, we started closing the door, the window, and at that point, the Iron Dome ran out of ammunition, and rockets started falling all around the kibbutz and inside the kibbutz. Okay. At this point, 2 rockets hit my street. The second miracle that happened was that one of the rockets hit about 10 centimeters away from 2 barbecue gas balloons. It's about this much. The rocket did not explode, and the balloons did not explode. The other rocket hit my neighbor's car. And we heard something big was hit outside. Both my husband and I are medics. We decided he's going to run out to see if anybody was injured, and I'm going to stay in. And as he's running out and he's putting out the fire, someone from the emergency response team comes up to him and said, "We have injured people. If you can bring your car to evacuate the wounded." At that point, we had no idea what's going on around the entire Gaza envelope, because together with the rockets, we also had a cyber attack, and we had no communication. Imagine if you lose your phone for 30 minutes, how disconnected and lost you feel. Now imagine having absolutely no communications under rockets. All of the security announcements on kibbutz are passed through WhatsApp groups, and we had no way to let people know what's going on. Only then did we find out that there are terrorists all around the kibbutz. The biggest miracle of kibbutzikim is that a Navy observer that sat in Ashdod in the Navy base picked up the radio and contacted the head of security and told them there are dozens of terrorists in the water. Some of them we stopped, but a lot of them passed us. They're heading towards the base. They're heading towards the beach. They're heading towards your kibbutz. That radio call gave the head of security a 2-minute advantage. He spread up the emergency response team, which is made out of men between the ages of 25 and 65. They used to train 2 days a year. They spread out on the fences, and when an IDF vehicle pulled up in front of them on the other side of the fence, they thought these are Israeli soldiers that came to help. The third person that came out of the car had an RPG on his shoulder. These were terrorists, and they tried to blow up the fence. A fight started at that point, in which some of our people were wounded. We were so lucky they were there, because they managed to kill some of the terrorists, and the rest fled and hid in the cemetery and the orchards. Throughout the next week, they kept popping up from different places, trying to go into the kibbutz. There are many stories about miracles that happened that day. And when we woke up the next day, after leaving by chance at night under heavy fire, my 12-year-old daughter picked up her phone and did a video of the sky as we were driving out of there at 9:30 at night, and rockets keep flying overhead. On October 8th, we started realizing the whole picture. Throughout the day when we didn't have communications, at a certain point, it came back, and 1,000 messages came in and 1,000 messages went out. That's when we found out that my next door neighbor, she's a single mom of a beautiful 7-year-old kid. Her granddaughter went to her parents' house for a fun weekend. Her parents live in Iroz. When she tried to contact them to see what's happening, no one answered, and there was no line going out. When she did get hold of her sister, someone answered in Arabic. Her sister was abducted. Her mother and her daughter were hiding in the safe room, and her father, who was in charge of the animals on that kibbutz, left early in the morning to see what about his horses. We later on found out that he was murdered and his body was taken. The week after October 7th was a very dark week. As everybody said, we experienced evil that we never saw before. We didn't think such evil existed in this lifetime, that we're going to experience it. And I remember how broken I felt, and I remember that we couldn't see a bright light. But then the next day, after we were evacuated to different hotels around the country, people started pouring in. The first 2 days were people from Israel, from all over the country that came to help. And after 2 to 3 days, people from all over the world, from all edges of the world, started showing up. The Jewish communities of the world looked towards Israel and did everything to help. And I have to say, I was on the other side, and I felt the hug. Anybody that did something for people from the Gaza envelope that week, that month, this year, I have to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Because the hug that was sent was so well felt. We still have a very long way to go. And we need to remember that. And the message that I want you to take home today, if I have this privilege, is this. Having seen the worst this year, and with whatever we're facing now, it's not over. We also discovered how wonderful, unique, and special our people are. There is no other people like us. And this is why we have to remind ourselves every single day that we have to stay united. We are one people with 1,000 different opinions. 1,001. But we're one people. V'ahavta l'ra'acha kamocha is something that we have to live by. Let's all remember. We have to stick in this together. We have to be better friends, better neighbors, a better community, to be there for one another, to be generous, to be kind, always. We have to do this in memory of and in honor of those who have fallen, those who were killed. And we have to do this and to stay united with prayer for the return of our 101 hostages. May they return home soon. We are all in this together. Thank you.
Goosebumps. Thank you so much. I'd like to invite Dr. Cherie Trotter, co-founder of the Indigenous Coalition for Israel, a Wahine Toa, and a tireless supporter of the community, to speak. Kia ora.
He honore karorea ki te atoa. He mamarama ki te whenua. He whakaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. I feel very humbled and honoured to be able to say a few words to you here today. This morning we gathered in Bethlehem in Tauranga with a few people at 6:30 a.m. 6:29, the time that the attack began. We gathered, we remembered, we gathered to reflect, to grieve for those whose lives were taken so brutally, to pray for all those affected by the tragedy and the ongoing conflict, to pray for the hostages still in Gaza and for their families, to mark yet another day, another tragic day on the Jewish calendar. Israel and the Jewish people suffered a deep, deep wound a year ago. Deep wounds take time to heal. But Israel will recover. Israel will heal. You will heal. And although the scar will remain and will be added to a long history of painful episodes, Israel will rise again. Because as much as the history of the Jewish people is marked by suffering and tragedy, it is also marked by resilience and a determination to overcome. Just as the Egyptians, the Persians, the Babylonians, the Syrians, the Greeks, the Romans failed to wipe you out, so Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and the United Nations will also fail. As a believer in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, I stand with the Hebrew prophets and their God-breathed promises of Israel's perpetuity. But I know that does not diminish the immense grief of the present. I'm reminded of the words of the prophet Isaiah. In all their afflictions, he too was afflicted. So I just want to remind you today that you have friends, you have allies, you have supporters, and some of us are doing all we can to combat the lies with truth, the hate with love, and to encourage others to speak and to not be silent, to not be bystanders, to have courage and to stand with humanity, with civilization and with truth. So finally, kia kaha, kia maia, kia manawa nui, ko te atua, tō tātou piranga, ko tātou kaha. Be strong, be brave, be steadfast and sure, for Hashem is our shelter, our refuge and strength. Kia ora koutou.
Kia ora. Thank you so much, Cherie. We welcome to the stage Ethan Nemiroff and Leah Berger, co-presidents of the New Zealand branch of the Australasian Union of Jewish Students, to speak on behalf of the youth.
Over the past year, we have seen the world change, and sadly, I cannot say it has been for the better. On university campuses across New Zealand, we have seen a rise of anti-Semitism we hoped belonged to the past. The posters around campus and the phrases we hear are something I would have never imagined experiencing. Words that once belonged to dark corners of our history have now found a new voice. We all grew up hearing stories that ended with the promise of never again, and here we are facing new realities where those words feel fragile. Just as the world has changed, we as a nation have also. And I say this not with sadness, but with pride. In our darkest hour, we have given a new meaning to Jewish resilience in this far corner of the world. In the face of hatred, we have found life. A year and 1 day ago, I felt like an individual, and now a year later, I feel as though we are one people. Over the past year, we have experienced a year of mourning, but it has also been a year of fighting as well. It does not feel like 1 year has been enough to process the grief and the pain, and I cannot even begin to imagine what it must have been like for the close families and friends of the 1,200 people who were brutally murdered. Now more than ever, it is important that we come together as a community and stay strong for the 101 hostages left in captivity and their families. Just as Shimon Peres once said, optimists and pessimists die in the same way. They just live differently. For this reason, we must stay strong, united, and not let their hatred extinguish our light. We will never forget, and we will dance again. B'motam tzivu lanu et ha'chaim, Am Yisrael chai.
When I went to Israel in February this year, I had the privilege of meeting someone called Karen. She told me about her brother Yaakov, who was a soldier killed in Gaza. And she told me about how, as devastating as it was for her family, they didn't pity or regret his death. As much as they love him, they know that Yaakov gave his life for something much greater than himself. Yaakov gave his life so that Jewish people can be allowed to live in safety and in freedom. Yaakov's sacrifice makes him a Jewish hero. Although we all experience a totally different reality here in New Zealand, this past year we have all been made to sacrifice for who we are. Some of us have sacrificed friends, calling out those who we thought knew better than to say or do ignorant things. Some of us have lost social bearing because we were overheard sharing our controversial views. Some of us have lost sleep because we were trying to explain to someone over text why they need to be more critical of news or why their post was dehumanizing to our people. Some of us have lost marks on our attendance because we couldn't stand to go to one more lecture with a Pākehā professor wearing a keffiyeh. But all of us have gotten up the next day to give 110% in a world that's no longer as comfortable as it once was. And that's heroism too. When I look at all of the Jewish students who are about to pass their exams, despite all they've been put through this year, that's no small feat. We come from a long line of survivors, people who have triumphed and excelled in a world where they've been made to feel unwelcome. Today we acknowledge and remember those who gave their lives so that we can have a life worth living. And tomorrow and for the rest of our lives, we honor them by continuing to survive. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah, and thank you, Ethan. I would like to invite Dr. David Kewen, Director of Israel Institute of New Zealand, to the stage to recite a prayer for peace for Israel.
Rock and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, the first manifestation of our redemption. Shield it with your loving kindness and envelop it in your peace. And bestow your light and truth upon its leaders, ministers, and advisers, and grace them with your good counsel, and strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. And grant them deliverance, and adorn them in a mantle of victory. Ordain peace in the land and grant its inhabitants eternal happiness. Be near to all the people of Israel throughout the lands of their dispersion. Plant within their hearts the love of Zion, and may those of our people who are so inspired come to Jerusalem, your city, which bears your name. Spread your spirit over all the inhabitants of our land. Uproot hatred and hostility, jealousy and evil, and plant in our heart love and brotherhood, peace and friendship, and speedily fulfill the vision of your prophet Isaiah. Nation will not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore.
Thank you, David. Now we will be playing a song by Amit Man, a paramedic from Kibbutz Be'eri who was murdered while treating wounded during the attack in Be'eri Clinic.
שום דבר לא יפגע בי, שום דבר. לא אישה, לא כדור מחבלים, שום דבר. כי ככה נשבעתי לאחי אחותי, להורים. ובכיתי בלילות, ודאגתי בימים, כי פחדתי שמשהו יפגע בהורים, וקולו של אבי מהדהד לי בראש כבר שנים.
אם יקרה לך משהו, אין לי טעם לחיים, אין לי טעם למחר, אין לי טעם לחיים, אין לי טעם למחר. אתם עומדים כאן מעליי, כנראה שלא עמדתי בהבטחתי, מצטער בחיי, מצטער בחיי, מצטער בחיי.
שום דבר לא יפגע בי, שום דבר,
לא אישה, לא כדור מחבלים,
שום דבר.
I would like to invite to the stage Dr. Lauren Brenner, a Jerusalem-born Kiwi doctor, to say a few words. Family, honoured guests, community members, colleagues, and treasured friends. Kia ora tātou, shalom, and welcome. I'm truly honoured to have been asked to speak today as Israeli-born Kiwi, a doctor, a mother, and a Jewish community member. I feel both humbled and grateful to be part of this wonderfully strong community, connected by our shared history, our faith, values, and benevolence. I stand with all of you in resolute solidarity and thank those that I share the stage with, all of you. Your incredible grit, passion, commitment that well surpasses anything that I could genuinely bring. I had assumed in today's proceedings that I was asked to speak in my capacity as health practitioner and women's health advocate following a speech I gave for Hadassah on International Women's Day 6 months after the war began, focusing on the sexual violence that occurred on October 7th. But as much as I tried to bring those themes into today's address, focusing on just one aspect of this tragedy just didn't seem to express exactly how I've been feeling. So I'll start with that, how I've been feeling. It is hard to find the right words to say when words can't really describe the shock and pain so many of us have felt over the past year. My heart, our hearts, are heavy with grief, anger, and deep sorrow. Our hearts are heavy as we honour the memories of our people, men, women, and children who endured unimaginable horror on October the 7th. Whole families slaughtered, burnt alive in their beds, others targeted, subjected to sexual violence and murder as they danced and celebrated life. We saw their bodies paraded on the backs of utes to the gleeful cheers of onlookers. We saw babies, children kidnapped from their parents. Some still held captive in Gaza at this very minute. After 1 year, the fates of these babies still remain uncertain. It is unfathomable to me how some New Zealand academics and health professionals can call this resistance. This is not resistance. We will not rest until our people are found. We see them not as victims, but as vibrant, beloved daughters, sons, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, friends, and partners. And as much as we mourn the loss of all innocent victims caught in the crossfire of this complex and tragic war, please allow us the dignity on this day and without political agenda to simply mourn the loss of our people, taken from us with unspeakable cruelty. The brutality they faced was intended to shatter their dignity and strip them of their humanity. But today, by coming together, we defy that violence. We refuse to let their memories be reduced to the horror of their last moments. The story of our people is a story of resilience. We are Jews, and we will survive. As we stand here in mourning, let us commit to remember and honour our people and continue to speak their names. They leave behind stories that cannot be erased, and their loss makes us ever more determined to preserve those values which are most precious, to live and let live in peaceful coexistence with dignity and hope. Ngā mihi, and thank you.
Sarah, yes. Thank you, Lauren. I would like to invite Rabbi Dean Shapiro to the stage to recite Who by Fire, a special poem for October 7.
On Rosh Hashanah it is written, on Yom Kippur it is sealed. How many shall pass on? How many shall come to be? Who shall live and who shall die? Who shall see ripe age and who shall not? Who shall perish by fire and who by water? Who in uniform? Who in pajamas? Who while dancing? Who while fleeing? Who by sword and who by beast? Who by hunger and who by thirst? Who by earthquake? Who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning? Who on their kibbutz? Who in their safe room? Who in a tank? Who in a tunnel? Who shall be secure and who shall be driven? Who shall be tranquil and who shall be troubled? Who shall be poor? Who shall be rich? Who shall be humbled and who exalted? Who in the arms of their loved ones? Who at the hands of their captors? Who while protecting their family? Who while defending Israel?
Thank you, Rabbi. The prayer Achenu, one written hundreds of years ago, is especially fitting for today. At its core, the prayer is a request for God to have mercy on captives and free them, taking them from narrowness to expanse, from darkness to light, and from oppression to redemption. The words are a chilling reminder of our brothers and sisters still held captive in Gaza. I would like to ask Rabbi Moshe Ruby to lead us in singing Achenu.
Achenu בצרה ובשביה, העומדים בין בים ובין ביבש. אחינו כל בית ישראל, אחינו כל בית ישראל, הנתונים בצרה ובשביה, העומדים בין בים ובין ביבשה. המקום ירחם, ירחם עליהם ויוציאם מצרה לרווחה ומאפלה ליורה ומשיבוד לגאולה השתה בגלה ובזמן קריב. המקום ירחם, ירחם עליהם ויוציאם מצרה לרווחה ומאפלה ליורה ומשיבוד לגאולה השתה בגלה ובזמן קריב.
Thank you, Rabbi Ruby.
If able to, please stand for Kaddish, the memorial prayer which will be recited by Rabbi Aaron HaKohen.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה. בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי ויצמח פורקנה ויקרב משיחי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך. וישתבח, ויתפאר, ויתרומם, ויתנשא, ויתהדר, ויתעלה, ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו. לאלה מנקוד ברכתה, ושירתה, תושבחתה, ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יש למה רבה ונשמיה, וחיים טובים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עשה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Thank you, Rabbi Aaron. On October 7, Stanitan's emergency squad sprung into action, successfully preventing the terrorist attempts to infiltrate the Moshav. Shortly after 7 October 2023, David Kipps from the Christchurch Jewish community visited Stanitan, and with residents starting to return, a need was identified to renovate the communal pool area to help bring back a sense of community. Supported by JNF KKL in Israel, through the JNF in New Zealand, as well as the New Zealand Jewish community, David is coordinating a project to raise funds for the renovations. This is a great way for the New Zealand Jewish community and supporters to make a tangible difference to a community that has been impacted by October 7. If you wish to help in this project, information will be sent out in the coming weeks. or you can contact us or David Keeps direct. In a moment, we will conclude this tekes with the singing of the New Zealand and Israel national anthems. Before we do, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the JNF, the Embassy of Israel, the New Zealand Jewish Council, NABRIC, the Ray Friedman Trust, the Jewish Agency to Australia and New Zealand, and Shalom New Zealand for making this tekes and the one happening concurrently in Wellington possible. Thank you too to the AJCC for having us here tonight. I would also like to thank the CSG and the police for security tonight and ask that you do not loiter in the streets immediately outside the centre.
We are currently in the period between Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, and Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Those days are known as the Days of Awe and are a time for serious introspection. On Rosh Hashanah, we sound the shofar in synagogue, a ram's horn, there's one there, a powerful, awakening sound. To me, it evokes both the pain of the last year, and for each of us, what a painful year it has been, but it also summons a better future. There is an almost universal custom to sound a total of 100 shofar blasts each day of Rosh Hashanah. As I sat in synagogue on Thursday, I read in my prayer book that the source of this custom is the biblical narrative of the triumph of Deborah the prophetess and judge of Israel over Sisera, the Canaanite conqueror and enemy of the Israelites. Sisera's mother awaits the return of her son, with her friends telling her that he has surely won a great victory and was apportioning spoils and captive women among his officers and troops. As she continues to wait, however, she begins to lose hope, and the reality sinks in that he has died. I quote, "According to the Midrashic tradition, she whimpered and groaned 101 times. Although one cannot help but feel sympathy for a grieving mother, one must be appalled at the cruelty of a mother who could be calmed by the assurance that her son was busy looting and persecuting innocent victims. The Jewish concept of mercy is diametrically opposed to such barbarism. By sounding the shofar 100 times, we seek to nullify the forces of cruelty exemplified by Sisera and his mother, and bring God's compassion upon us. Although she whimpered one time more than 100, that last expression of pain was of genuine, unalloyed grief. We do not seek to nullify the compassion of a mother who loses a child, even one as loathsome as Sisera." End quote. The number 101 immediately caught my attention, because that is the number of hostages still being held in Gaza. We weep 101 times for them. But it also caught my attention because it reminds us that we have been battling the forces of barbarism, those who would treat women as spoils of war and seek to annihilate us for thousands of years. In doing so, we must remain true to our Jewish values and beliefs, maintain our compassion, and keep sight of our common humanity and our ultimate goal, to be allowed to live in peace. After that triumph by Deborah, peace reigned for 40 years. May our hostages be returned. May we write another chapter in the miraculous story of Jewish continuity and resilience. And may peace reign for us all, and soon. Am Yisrael Chai.
Please stand, if you are able, for National Anthem of New Zealand, followed by Hatikva, the National Anthem.
Eora atua ona iwi matora atafakarona me arohanoa kia hua kotepai kia toto atafai mana kitia mai Aotearoa, God of nations, at thy feet, in the bonds of love we meet. Hear our voices, we entreat. God, defend our free land. God, Pacific's triple star, from the shafts of strife and war, make her praises heard afar. God, defend New Zealand. Thank you, Sam. כל עוד בלבב פנימה נפש יהודי הומייה ולפתי מזרח קדימה עין לציון צופיה עוד לא אבדה תקוותנו התקווה בת שנות 2000 להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון ירושלים להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון ירושלים.
תמיר אדר, אלון אוהל, יוסף חיים אוחנה, דרור אור, אבינתן אור, גיא אילוז, איציק אלגרת, לירי אלבג, חמזה אלזיאדני, יוסף אלזיאדני, עידן אלכסנדר, מוחמד אל-אטרש, רונן אנגל, מתן אנגרסט, שלמה מנצור, אביב אצילי, קרינה ארייב, אלקנה בוחבוט, אריאל ביבס, ירדן ביבס, כפיר ביבס, שירי ביבס, אוהד בן עמי, אגם ברגר, אוריאל ברוך, סער ברוך, גלי ברמן, זיו ברמן, רום רסלבסקי, רן גבילי, ביפין ג'ושי, מני גודארד, הדר גולדין, רומי גונן, דניאלה גלבוע, גיא גלבוע דלל, אביתר דוד, אמילי תהילה דמרי, עוז דניאל, סגי דקל חן, איתן הורן, יהיר הורן, ענבר היימן, מקסים הרקין, אילן וייס, עומר ונקרט, אריה זלמנוביץ', ג'ודי ויישן חגי, גדי חגי, טל חיימי, איתי חן, ארבל יהוד, אוהד יהלומי, יאיר יעקב, אליה כהן, נמרוד כהן, שגב כלפון, ג'ושוע לויטו מלל, איתן לוי, אור לוי, נעמה לוי, שי לוינסון, עודד ליפשיץ, גדי מוזס, איתן מור, עמרי מירן, אברה מנגיסטו, אליהו מרגלית, עומר נאוטרה, תמיר נמרודי, איתי סבירסקי, יונתן סמרנו, אלכסנדר סשה טרופנוב, צחי עידן, מתן צנגאוקר, אריאל קוניו, דוד קוניו, אמירם קופר, בר קופרשטיין, עופרה קידר, עופר קלדרון, ליאור עודייף, אורון שאול, טל שוהם, דורון שטיינברכר, עומר שם טוב, קיט סמואל סיגל, דניאל פרץ, הישם שעבן הסייד, אלי שרעבי, יוסי שרעבי, עידן שטיבי.
Please remain seated if you would like to take part in a Q&A with Shani Chuba. Tamatekis is the end of our tekis. Thank you so much.